Welcome to Roaming with Restless Women, real talk with wise, dynamic women leaders. I'm Julie Noonan, your host, CEO, and founder of Intuitive Wisdom Coaching, and I'm living my dream life. I live and work in my RV, coaching senior women leaders as they navigate corporate politics, family drama, and personal goals to live their own dream lives. These women are restless. They are never done seeking new opportunities, learning, and ways to create value in the world. If you'd like to apply to be a guest, stick around to the end of the show and I'll let you know how. So let's go. Hi, and welcome back to Roaming with Restless Women. Today, I am joined by a fellow podcaster, Shannon Russell. Shannon is a television producer turned entrepreneur and career transition business coach. She's also an exit strategy expert, UMAP coach, author, speaker, and host of the Second Act Success Career Podcast and the How to Quit Your Job and Start a Business podcast. I love that. I love that name. Shannon began her career spending over 16 years as a television producer in New York City and Los Angeles, working for MTV, E, Yahoo, Pop Sugar, A&E, TLC, VH1, etc. She then pivoted to open her own business, running a Snapology franchise, teaching children STEM education so that she could be more present for her children. Now, as a certified career business coach, she supports women as they change careers, start a business, and follow their passions to the fullest. Shannon's motto is, and I love this, produce your best life. Her company's Second Act Success, which you can find with a .co, allows her to share her journey and experience as a television executive turned business owner and mom. She has recently written a book, which is forthcoming, Start Your Second Act, How to Change Careers, Launch a Business, and Create Your Best Life. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you so much, Julie. This is going to be so much fun. I'm excited.
You're a busy woman, I'm telling you. So most of us, maybe most is a generalization, but many of us have no idea what it's like to be a TV producer, what is involved, etc. So can you tell us a little bit about that and what drew you to that profession to begin with?
Sure. I had wanted to be in the television space, working in Hollywood since I was a little girl. It was the only thing I ever wanted. And as I got into the industry, really what a television producer does is they take this idea for a show and then they do all of the things to get it actually on air. So it's organizing the people, the talent, overseeing scripts, directing on set, just everything, being that almost manager, making sure that the idea of the show comes to fruition. So it's very
Wow.
creative and very stressful, but so much fun.
So tell me about how people come to producers. Do they pitch their scripts, or how does that all happen? The whole upfront part.
Yeah, so I studied communications, journalism, and film in college, and then I got, several internships in, news, and I ended up at MTV in New York City. And yeah, for me, you work at a production company or at a
Mhm.
studio. And so you're hired by that studio to work on whatever shows that they're producing. You can come in there with your own ideas and pitch your own ideas as well, but really you're hired to produce whether it's a reality show or a news program, and that's it. You're working with that company to execute their idea.
Awesome. It sounds like
Mm.
it's comparable to a project manager in corporate America.
Yes.
Okay.
Very similar, a little bit more creative, I think,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
wearing a few more hats because you're really
Mhm.
overseeing the whole project. But yeah, very similar.
Absolutely. Okay. Great. 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 So, what was the catalyst that prompted you to become a franchise owner? I know a
Yeah.
lot of our audience probably have considered this. It is one way to go into your own business, but give me your catalyst, and then also the pros and cons of owning a franchise.
Yeah, well, my aha moment was being 8 months pregnant with my second son and just running with tears in my eyes through the Times Square subway station because I was rushing to go pick up my little one from
Oh,
daycare. So it was just the long hours of television. My husband is a television producer as well, so we were
my
both,
goodness.
commuting. Yeah, it was just a lot, both of us with our dream jobs, but then when you have one little one and you have another one on the way, it something had to give. So once I
Yeah.
had my second little boy, I was on my maternity leave and my show got canceled, which
Oh,
happens all the time in TV. When a show gets canceled, you just pick up the phone and you get your next job because it's all in who you know. And I said, you know what? This might be the time where I don't pick up the phone. I don't get that next job and I figure out my second act and I figure out what's next. And that led me to doing a lot of different missteps in the interim and then landing on a franchise business because I was looking at my little boy, my 3-year-old at the time, who was building and loved Legos and just that was when he was in his happy place. And I said, let me, look into a business where we
mhm.
really educate kids on building and using their imagination. And then I found a franchise and I learned that really in franchising, you get all those pieces put together. It's almost a business in a box, right? Um,
Right.
and for me, I was using my production skills, my producing skills to build the business, but I needed to know all the ins and out of business in order to do it. So franchising seemed to be the best way for me to go.
Hmm.
And I'm a big proponent of a franchise. I think it's a great way to segue you into business and to learn about, everything you need to know to have that support, to have that community of other business owners,
Hmm.
because that is the best thing. I mean, some of my best friends are other owners of that company that I owned to this day. And so it really taught me a lot. And then I feel like you learn what you can. And for me, I sold that business just a few months ago.
Oh,
And I
very
was like,
good.
yeah, because in the interim, I started my coaching business. So I said, you know what? I know how to run a business. I've done it successfully. And now I'm going to take everything I learned and go out on my own.
That's amazing. And so, what was there a big catalyst for deciding to sell that business and go out on your
It was the fact that, I guess I've owned the business a little over 8 years. And about 2.5 years ago is when I started my coaching business. So I was running both simultaneously. And my franchise, we were in the top three or so of everyone in that franchise. So we were doing really well, high volume. I had a very big team. And then trying to grow another business that was more of a baby was tricky. And I
Yeah.
realized that my heart was with the new business. And I had served families and children for so long. I wanted to serve other women who needed that catalyst to change careers and build a business of their own. So I finally, a couple of years ago, about a year ago, I said, you know what? I want to sell my business when it's hot. You always hear sell it when your business is doing the best. And so
Absolutely.
yeah, and so that was really the reason I love the business, but I kind of loved my new coaching business a little bit more and just wanted to see where I could bring that.
And so, what gave you the idea to do coaching
Uh,
specifically?
It was my customers of my first business, of the franchise, because it was STEM education, so I was teaching a lot in the beginning. I was teaching these classes, and a lot of the moms would say, "Oh, you must have been such a great teacher. What grade did you teach?" And I would say, "Well, actually, I'm a television producer." And it would spark these conversations, and a lot of my customers would ask me if I could help them figure out how they could change careers so that they weren't commuting to Manhattan and being away from their kids. And I started realizing there was a real need because when I
Yeah.
left TV, I was alone, Julie. I was struggling. It was scary. I just
Hmm.
knew I needed to find something different. And so, as I was helping these customers and some friends and other, colleagues from TV that were thinking of getting out of the entertainment industry, I was like, there's something here. And
Hmm.
so I started my Second Act Success podcast and started the business there just to serve those women who really were a lot like me in so many ways.
Absolutely. That's terrific. That is amazing. And so, um, how did you niche specifically to women? And I'm assuming women of any age that want
Mhm.
to get into a new career. What was it about niching to that specific market?
I wanted to help women like me who found themselves in kind of in the midlife or, new mom era where you're all of a sudden saying this dream job, this dream career I worked for so long doesn't quite fit in my lifestyle anymore. And that's a
Yeah.
scary realization, as you know, right? And there's a lot of self discovery and a lot of self reflection you have to do. And I feel like when you're trying to do that on top of being a mom and a partner and a daughter and all of the things, you put yourself last. And I
Always.
wanted
Yeah.
to, yeah. And I just felt like so many women and friends of mine will just say, "Oh, I'm miserable, but I'm just going to stick it up, or suck it up, and I'm going to just stick with it until retirement, and then that'll be my time." And I just felt the opposite, and I said, "You know what? We get one life to live, and I think you can do it all without causing chaos in your family." And so I just started really wanting to dive into letting women know that they can make this change now instead of waiting for that later moment that may never come.
That is 100% true, because the older you get, the more, and this sounds very morbid, but it's true. The more you realize, with the death of some of your peers, um, with, my one of my best friends lost her husband, and he was only 60.
Wow.
And, they had all these plans for when they were going to retire. And now she's facing, doing all of it alone. And, you just can't wait. And that was one of the impetus for my husband and I to go out, go ahead and get our RV and get going on this wild adventure that we want to have in our life. He had a heart attack in 2020. And
Oh.
I was in my business for 5 months when this happened. And
Mm.
so, you just start realizing the older you get, the more you see your friends, your peer group, struggling with things that that would prohibit them from having this quote unquote dream life, whatever that happens to be, after quote unquote retirement, which whatever that is anymore. Uh,
It's
you decide, okay, well, maybe I should live my life now. Makes a lot more sense that way.
I
What's
agree.
the hardest thing, about starting up a, a business or a career change from your perspective in talking with your clients?
I think it's that kind of talking to yourself, that introspection, if you will. Like I always say to find a few minutes in your day to turn and ask yourself how you're really doing. And if the way you're living your life is the way you truly are happy, or what can you do, what little steps can you do to improve and really be happier as you move forward, and not in a selfish way. You can still be a mom and a partner and a daughter and all of that, but just making sure that you're living the best life you can right now. And I
Mhm.
think it's hard, as we said, for people to want to do that work. But once you do, you might say, you know what? No, I'm not happy working for someone else, and I have this passion or this side hobby or this talent that I could make money from if I start something on my own. But how do I do that? So I think it's just realizing it and then deciding to research it a little bit and then take that leap.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that I help clients with, because it's getting over that first hurdle, as you know, and then you say, it's not that scary. I
Yeah.
can do it. Or Julie, you can say, you know what? I looked into it. It's not really for me after all. And then you feel better because you're checking it off your list, and you won't have that regret of never really knowing that you didn't try.
And I like the fact that you put that opposite view in as well, because I think there's so much pressure right now for people to have side hustles or to, start their own businesses, that a lot of people are jumping on all of these, fake business opportunities that are advertised online. They get pulled in, they spend all this money, they're not getting the support. It's a crap business or it's a scam. I hate the fact that that's going on. I really do. And that's where I think consultants like yourself, coaches like me, we
Mhm.
basically can help people really look inside and go from there, not look outside and go for the quick money, because
Yeah,
frankly, that's a one in a million, and it's usually not.
exactly. And that's why I often say, and I'm sure you agree too, is like learn before you leap, right? Do your
Yes,
research and make sure it's for you. And if it's not, then all the better. Now you know. So yeah, I
absolutely.
agree
Yeah,
with you.
for real, that's for sure. So what is the one value or the red thread that you could say that you have that has gone through all of your career? What's that one thing?
I think it's being a people person. I was in theater as a little girl. I just always wanted to be around people and be creative and make something, make something with my hands. And then I did that all through production and television. And honestly, if I didn't have kids, I'd probably still be in that industry because I loved it so much. But then it's becoming a mom and volunteering in the schools and doing all of those things and building my first business and being the face of that business and building the other. It's just always forming relationships and trying to um, get that idea to the other end, I guess, would be what I would see. Is just always striving for that end result and working towards it.
The thing about your generation and Gen X is
Mm,
makers. They're makers.
you're
They're
right.
creators. My daughter and her husband are makers. They have a side hustle, and they went to just this past weekend, they were at the Orlando Maker Fair.
Oh, wow.
And it was the coolest. I got to go and see, their booth, and they sell 3D printed speakers and kits that kids
Ooh.
can actually put together themselves and have their own speakers. It's really cool. But there were so many creative booths there. There were robotics, there were clubs, there were kids, showing all kinds of stuff, whether it was for sale or not. And I just thought to myself, this right here is a representation of this generation, of the millennials and the Z's. Um, I mean, basically, excuse me, we've turned into a country that likes to make things. No,
Yeah.
all of the wonderful shows that we've had, baking, the baking show, Great British
I
Baking
love that.
Show, all of the YouTube videos of how you do this or how you do that. Here's a hack for this, here's a hack for that. People enjoy making and showing and demonstrating and helping. And I really
Mhm.
think that that's part of the drive that I see in you as well. So tell me about your why you decided to do podcasting.
Yeah, thank you. I that's really what started it. Before I knew I wanted to coach, I just wanted to start my podcast and share other women's stories of starting over. So I just wanted to inspire people listening to say, "Wow, if she could do that, then I can too." And so really the beginning of my podcast, the first, I don't know, 40 episodes or so is all people, women, basically just telling their stories of how they started a second act or third or fourth. And yeah, just inspiring women, and then it's, changed more so. I do solo episodes now, but it's just really wanting to have people listen and say, "Oh, she was a teacher and now she's a makeup artist," or whatever it might be, and you just
Right.
say, "Well, that is doable. Someone else did it. I can't use the excuse that it's not possible anymore," right? So yeah, it's my passion. It's so much fun.
Well, I don't know. You said you had listened to some of my podcasts, so maybe you know the three questions that I ask at the end of every one. But let's start with the first one. I'll ask you to close your eyes. And describe the picture that appears in your mind when I say wise woman, and then open your eyes and tell me about the picture.
Hmm. It's a woman sitting on the beach writing.
And what's she
Mhm.
writing?
She's writing about her past and writing about her future and just taking all of these lessons from life and putting them there for her children to see.
That's beautiful. And I love
Mhm.
the fact that you put her on the beach. That's my favorite place.
Mine too. I know.
And where do you like to roam?
Ooh, Hawaii, speaking of the beach, is my place that I will retire at. I will get there hopefully before retirement. I just love everything about the culture and the
Mhm.
music and the people. And yeah, so I'd love to
Any
roam there as
particular
much as possible.
island? Any particular
Uh,
island?
we've been we've been all over. My kids love Oahu the best because of Olani, the Disney resort. They love it.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course.
Yes.
So, what makes you restless in a good way?
Never stopping. I think just always having I'm someone who can't sit still, so I always have a different project. Thus the podcast, the book, the everything. So I'm always like, what's next? What's next? All in creative, just making myself feel like I can write words or do a podcast just to inspire other people because I always think back that it's inspiring my boys that, whatever they want to do in their future, they can have a side hustle, they can start a business, they can do something creative. So hopefully, if I'm inspiring anyone, it's my two little boys.
Absolutely. I think that one of the things that I love about all the wisdom that I hear from women is that most of the time when they're sharing that wisdom, they're thinking about their families, you know,
Hmm.
and wanting to
Yes.
leave a legacy there more than the business, right?
Oh, 1000%.
For sure, right? So, um, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can go to secondactsuccess.co. That's my website where you can learn about my book, get the podcast, my coaching, all of it. Everything is there. I have blogs and free resources as well.
Okay. I will make sure that gets in the show notes. Shannon, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for appearing today. I have really enjoyed our discussion, and I will end this episode and remind people to please go subscribe if you're on you watching on YouTube, or like if you're listening on the podcast channels. And thank you, Shannon, for being with us. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Julie.
Julie Noonan here. Thank you so much for listening to Roaming with Restless Women. If you're a successful senior woman leader who would like to be on this program, please visit podcast.intuitivewisdomcoach.com. If you enjoyed this interview, please share this episode on social media and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they mean a lot to me, my team, and most importantly, my restless guests. As a special gift to you, our listeners, I offer a free one-on-one 15-minute breakthrough session. Bring a problem and experience how coaching works to see if it could be of value to you. Sign up for an available time on my website, intuitivewisdomcoach.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.